Deep within the labyrinthine halls of St. Agatha's Hospital, there exists a ward that nurses and doctors avoid like the plague. Whispered about only in hushed tones, the 7th ward is a place where patients check in but never check out, not alive at least. Sarah, a young nurse with an insatiable curiosity, couldn't resist the allure of the mystery surrounding the 7th ward. Despite the warnings from her colleagues, she decided to investigate. As she stepped through the heavy metal door, the atmosphere shifted, growing thick with an ominous chill that seemed to seep into her bones. The corridor stretched out before her, dimly lit by flickering fluorescent lights, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. The air was heavy with an unsettling silence, broken only by the soft shuffle of Sarah's footsteps as she ventured deeper into the ward. Each room she passed was empty, the beds neatly made, but a palpable sense of dread hung in the air like a heavy fog. Suddenly, Sarah froze as she heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible at first, but growing louder with each step she took. The voices of patients long gone echoed around her, their words twisted and distorted, pleading for release from some unseen torment. Heart pounding, Sarah pressed on, determined to uncover the truth behind the whispered tales of the 7th ward. As she reached the end of the corridor, she found herself in a room unlike the others. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and the walls seemed to pulse with a sinister energy. Trembling, Sarah stepped inside, her breath catching in her throat as she realized she was not alone. Shadows danced in the corners of the room, their movements erratic and unpredictable. And then, she felt it, a cold, clammy hand wrapping around her ankle, pulling her towards the darkness beneath the bed. Panic surged through her veins as Sarah struggled against the unseen force, but it was futile. With a final desperate cry, she was dragged into the abyss below, the darkness swallowing her whole. No trace of Sarah was ever found, and the whispers of the 7th ward continued to haunt the hospital halls, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked within. Room 237. The mere mention of its name was enough to send shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned hospital staff. Patients admitted they rarely made it through the night, their screams echoing through the halls long after they had drawn their final breath. Dr. Jackson had always been skeptical of the rumors surrounding Room 237. He prided himself on his rationality, dismissing tales of hauntings and supernatural occurrences as nothing more than the product of overactive imaginations. But as the head of the hospital's night shift, he couldn't ignore the unsettling pattern of deaths that seemed to plague the cursed room. Determined to uncover the truth once and for all, Dr. Jackson made the fateful decision to spend a night in room 237. As the witching hour approached, he found himself alone in the dimly lit room, the air heavy with a sense of foreboding. Hours passed in tense silence, the only sound the steady hum of the monitor beside him. But as midnight drew near, Dr. Jackson's senses sharpened, and he became acutely aware of the eerie stillness that hung in the air, like a suffocating blanket. Then it began, the scratching. Faint at first, like the whisper of a ghost, but growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. It seemed to emanate from within the walls themselves, the sound of fingernails desperately clawing at the cold, unforgiving concrete. Dr. Jackson's heart pounded in his chest as he rose from his chair, his eyes scanning the room for any sign of movement. The lights flickered ominously, casting long shadows that danced along the walls like specters in the night. And then, he felt it, the presence. A cold chill washed over him as he turned to face the source of the disturbance, his breath catching in his throat as he beheld the ghostly figure of a young girl standing before him. Her eyes were hollow and empty, devoid of any semblance of life. They bore into his soul with a haunting intensity, sending shivers down his spine. Dr. Jackson tried to speak, to call out for help, but his voice caught in his throat, trapped by the icy grip of fear. The girl reached out to him, her hand outstretched as if pleading for solace from some unseen torment. And then, as quickly as she had appeared, she vanished into thin air, leaving Dr. Jackson alone in the darkness once more. Terrified and shaken to his core, Dr. Jackson fled room 237, vowing never to return. But the memory of that fateful night would haunt him for the rest of his days, a chilling reminder of the horrors that lurked within the walls of St. Agatha's Hospital. Dr. William Michaels was renowned throughout the medical community for his unparalleled surgical skills. Patients traveled from far and wide to seek his expertise, their lives placed in his capable hands. But behind his charismatic smile and reassuring demeanor lay a sinister secret, one that threatened to unravel the very fabric of reality itself. Dr. Rachel had always harbored suspicions about Dr. Michaels. There was something about the way he carried himself, a darkness lurking behind his piercing blue eyes that sent a shiver down her spine. So when a series of mysterious deaths began to plague the hospital following his procedures, she knew she had to investigate. Under the cover of darkness, Rachel sneaked into Dr. Michaels' office, her heart pounding in her chest as she rifled through his files. What she found sent a chill down her spine, a journal detailing twisted experiments conducted on conscious patients, their screams silenced by the cold, unforgiving embrace of anesthesia. Shocked and appalled by the atrocities she had uncovered, Rachel knew she had to act fast. But as she turned to leave, she heard footsteps approaching from down the hall. Panic surged through her veins as she realized she had been discovered. Hiding in the shadows, Rachel watched in horror as Dr. Michaels entered the room, his eyes gleaming with malice as he muttered to himself about his next victim. She held her breath, praying he wouldn't find her, but it was too late. With a sinister grin, Dr. Michaels turned towards her hiding spot, his gaze piercing through the darkness like a dagger through the heart. Rachel's blood ran cold as he advanced towards her, his scalpel glinting in the dim light. Desperate to escape, Rachel fled into the labyrinthine corridors of the hospital, her footsteps echoing off the cold, sterile walls. But no matter how fast she ran, she could feel Dr. Michaels' presence looming behind her, his malevolent laughter echoing in her ears. In the end, Rachel was never seen again, her fate forever entwined with the darkness that lurked within the heart of St. Agatha's Hospital. And as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the memory of her disappearance faded into obscurity, just another unsolved mystery in a world filled with darkness and despair.